What is up? I'm going to go ahead and do a two-parter on this video. This is going to be on the Ridgid vacuum as well as the Kreg rip cut. The Kreg rip cut, it does work and it is super accurate, like super accurate. But these parts, they're so flimsy, and this is, I feel like I'm gonna break that off any second. It was fairly difficult to get my saw set up and on there somewhat straight, which it's not completely straight, but I did end up with a good cut. So as for if I'm gonna keep this or not, I will have to read in on the warranty, because I've seen another video of a guy who mounts his saw differently than they have it, and that would probably be the better way to do it. But as for this right here, this piece is very flimsy and very not easy to deal with. The whole thing's not completely square, so maybe if they have a better one at some point, but the way I measured it, set it out, if I can find my tape measure, I have this is a 49-inch board, and so I ended up with 24 and a half, and I can prove that really quickly with my very beat up 4 or 5-year-old. As you can see, 24 and a half exactly, and 24 and a half exactly. I don't know how it ended up exact on both, because the math doesn't equal up if your blade is taken out at least a 16th, because it is a thin kerf. It is a brand new Diablo just framing blade, and if we look at the cut, it's actually really clean. And this is on the octane saw, which spins quicker, and I had just set it up to barely make it through, as you can see on the slight overcut right here, and it did a fairly good job. This left a table saw quality straight cut. I would almost trust this over these factory edges, which we've been dragging it around, and this board weighs more than my girl, and she's been helping me move it around, and it's just not an easy thing. So yeah, I gotta say, Diablo blades, big thumbs up on that. The Kreg's rip cut, it's definitely a good idea, just not very well implemented, and also not made out of very good materials. If they would have made this stuff out of aluminum, magnesium, whatever, and the attachments, the way that they attach, was more exact, then I would say that I'd probably pay $100 for it rather than $40 plus tax. The way it is now, I think it's worth about maybe $18, the way that they built it. Now, how the other guy had mounted it is, I think he had drilled holes in his actual shoe, and the way that this is it's just got these little pins that poke down into your shoe, which damage the shoe, which kind of pisses me off, but it's not that big of a deal. And also on the bottom of it, it takes away a little bit of your depth. So if you're not running like a Ridgid octane, your depth may actually, suffer depending on what you're cutting. If you're cutting multiple sheets, it's going to take away about 1/4 inch. So the vacuum, once I got it cut, it threw all the sawdust onto the right side, and I didn't have the vacuum hooked up to the saw because I don't know where the attachment is. It's kind of a pain to put on. But I just used a little 2 amp hour, and it only burned off 1 bar. I vacuumed off the saw and this and this and that, and it just burned off 1 battery, which is not a fresh charge. I've been using it on my impact, so it's not too bad. Once you put 2 batteries in the vacuum, it'll go for quite some time. It'll actually probably heat up before, gee whiz, people, it'll probably heat up before you actually run the batteries out. But I don't have a bag in it, which is the problem. So we'll see. I'm gonna do some more testing on the vacuum itself. But see, that's why you don't set MDF up on the edges like that. It just ruins them. So what I'm gonna do is maybe bust out the table saw and cut some of these down to make them easier to work with, and set them down flat. Wherever I can, I'm going to set these down flat so that they don't do any further damage. Because, yeah. So, overall, I have to say, I give it it works. It functions if, like, you know, you're trying to rip down some 4x wide or 48, 49 inch. This is actually over 48, so it's 49 when you buy them at Menards. And they're actually, I think, 1 inch over that direction as well. So they're 97 by 49. So all in all, I would give that it works. But like, I don't know if I would depend on it. Like, I just don't know if I'd trust it. But it did a wonderful job once I got it set up and calculated out correctly. The vacuum, it's not like very well built like my NXT 12 gallon, and the hose is cheaper. Pretty much the whole thing is way cheaper built, but like, it's so light, I can just like carry it around as I'm using it. The hose is super short, which was kind of lame, but it did not come with a bag, and that sucks because, like, I don't know if you know, but and there's one complaint already, is the switch is way too easy to hit. But these filters are not cheap. They cost like $18 to $20 something a piece, depending on which one you get. And you can tell, like, just running it like this, it just ruins the. And yes, I did suck up this whole entire bag that used to have cups in it, and it sucks up, but in this part right here, which I could see somebody modifying very quickly to get rid of, but what it does is actually sends the dust multiple directions for the bag, because the bag goes this way. So, but I could see somebody just cutting that off and doing away with it if you just use it like this. And I guess vacuum off your filters every 5 minutes. But all in all, I'm getting stuff done with the cheap tools, and I got this at Home Depot for $94. I'm not really sure how I got it for $94, but the lady was really nice, and she hooked me up because I had tried to price match on the Kreg's jig because I saw it for cheaper at a hardware store, and she couldn't figure out how to do it. So she actually knocked about $5 off of this one. So that was really cool of her. But the Ridgid tools, man, they're no joke. If I wouldn't have gotten into the Ridgid, I probably would have gotten into the Pro line of the Flex tools, because I know a lot of people are talking shit about them, and they're saying, oh, they're not as good as they say. But the Pro lines, they're definitely better than the Ridgids. But the Octane versions of any of these tools are going to be pretty much the top of the line, except for their impact drivers. Their impact drivers are just wishy-washy. But my Octane is almost the exact same power as the Gen 5 brushless, Gen 5X brushless, and this is kind of just like a rant video, but yeah, I think I'm going to throw my table saw up and just start cutting down the 3-inch for the door frames. And that's what I calculated this out. And I can do eight 3-inch strips at 8 feet. That's probably, out of one piece of this, is probably enough to do most of the house, most of the doorways. And whatever's not, I ordered the 2-part CA glue, which should be coming tomorrow. And then anything that has to be jointed together is either going to be 45 or 45-45 or 45-23 point something. Just whatever looks good when it's glued up, which usually the 45 you can get away with on baseboard and stuff like that. Most of the time, doorways, you're not going to need anything longer unless you have like bigger doorways, and I could show you that, but I'm not going to right now. So all in all, vacuum, it's actually not that bad. I like it. I do not believe it has a blowing capability as most vacuums do, unless you can just stick a tube in there, which I don't think you can do because it's not set up for it. It does not. So you cannot, as far as I can tell, maybe if you put the bigger hose on here, it looks like maybe the bigger size hose fits in there. So maybe I'm wrong on that. But it's so lightweight. Carry it to your job site, you know, clean up after yourself, and then when you're done, just throw the whole vacuum away. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But here's your filters right here. The different models of filters, and I do believe the one on the right is a special filter. It's like a HEPA filter. And I did run this off. I had one 4 amp hour and one octane. The 4 amp hours, they last twice or 3 times longer than the 3 amp hour octane batteries. I do not know why. I don't care why. I just wish I had more of them. I only have 2. And then I've got the little 2 amp hour, which kind of just saved me because my other ones were on the charger. So, yeah. Getting stuff done. So I gotta go. Thanks for watching.